Hello to the pessimistic, optimistic, and everyone in between. My name is Connor Philippi, and welcome back to the Minnesotan Sports Podcast. And the theme for the Vikings the last few years, especially like 2 years ago and this year, have been a win is a win. And good God, have the Vikings been testing that more than anything I've ever seen these last few weeks. The Minnesota Vikings somehow still come away with a win against the Chicago Bears in overtime, 30-27. And this is a game that it's probably the most frustrating victory, or maybe not the most frustrating victory, but there were so many times we could have won that game so easily, and we just continued to keep the Bears into it. We almost out-Bears the Bears, and I'll go over the whole thing. But first, this is a game that we were up by 2 touchdowns in the late stages, like the very late stages of the fourth quarter. We were up by a touchdown, an extra point, by 11 points, I should say. And we had the ball, or no, sorry, we were up by 8 points. We had the ball in our red zone. All we had to do, first of all, was get an Aaron Jones 1-yard run for a first down, and that was the game. He didn't get it, and we had to kick the field goal. And then we let the Chicago Bears go all the way down the field and score within less than a minute, which if we had played better defense, they wouldn't have even been able to get to the onside kick, because again, we were up by 2 scores with 1:26 left to go. And then we have the onside kick against us, an onside kick that probably wouldn't have even gone the 10 yards if we wouldn't have ran up and let some guy's leg touch it. I can't even remember who it was that did it. And then the Bears get that onside kick. They go down, kick a field goal to send it to overtime after a wide open receiver makes a catch that there were 4 or 5 guys in the vicinity of, and for some reason we played such soft coverage. Either that or our guys just couldn't play football for a few seconds here. And then we go to overtime, where somehow the Vikings defense does make a stand, comes up clutch in the late moments. The Vikings come back, and a big catch by Addison, one by Jefferson, and then a huge catch by TJ Hawkinson, who was clutch in this game. And the Minnesota Vikings somehow still win the game. And it was just the kind of win where you feel like it's a breath of fresh air that you're still able to get the job done. The Vikings at the end of the day are 9-2, but man, this game could have been a blowout. Not even where those last few things happened in the last couple minutes. This game we could have won by 4 or 5 touchdowns with the way that the Bears were trying to lose this game every single step of the way. And it just feels like it's the same story the last 4 or 5 weeks. We need to find ways to figure this stuff out in order to win against better teams. You know, the next time we play the Packers, the games we have coming up, one against the Lions, we have some pretty easy opponents the rest of the way, but in order to do anything in the playoffs, we have to figure out a lot of things. Just some notes I wrote down from the game. First of all, we can't keep giving up the ball in the red zone. The Vikings turnover at the goal line set the tone for the first half, which was, we went from a commanding, big statement touchdown our very first drive to saying, we are basically on your same level in this game, and we're going to keep playing like it. And it straight up, this time it wasn't Darnold, but another Vikings offensive player giving up the ball in the red zone. And that's the kind of thing where you can give up a turnover like that, and that's almost the game lost against a high-scoring team like the Lions. You can't let that happen, especially because if you're against a better offense, you're probably already down by a touchdown. So just something you can't do. First of all, the refs, were back and forth. I mean, they gave the Vikings some calls, and then on top of that, there was one I specifically remember after a punt where our guy took 2 steps and got smacked in the face, and they called a holding call against the other team and not us. That's just stupid. And I'm not saying there weren't some questionable calls against us too. It's just, that's an overall note of the officiating continues to be horrible this season. We need to stop calling long, developing, obvious throws to the outside. There were a couple where, there was a Specifically, I remember one where there was a which was it? There was a either a running back or maybe it was Addison. He shifted, and I was like, they're gonna throw it to him. And sure enough, he throws it to him. They have like a stare down between Darnold and Addison where he stares at him for 2 seconds, finally throws it, and he gets blown up at the line. That has happened so often, and it's a play that we should not run anymore because we never get anything from it unless it's very well designed, which it never is. So we need to stop doing that as well. In the first half, the Vikings were lucky that they weren't down by multiple scores. The Bears' offense was horrible in this game. Otherwise, we would have been down by a lot going into the half because, usually you want to be bend but don't break if that's the style you want to run. The Vikings were don't bend and then break because they gave up so many third down completions, more chunk plays that they continue to give up. I said that in my pregame preview versus the Bears that we needed to stop giving up those chunk plays. Sure enough, it was DeAndre Swift who kept getting all those chunk plays against us, and without those chunk plays, we would have probably not allowed a single touchdown against them. So those chunk plays just need to go away, and the defense got better in the second half, and they had to because the Vikings offense completely stalled. And they came up clutch again, but that first half was not great for the Vikings defense. Another blocked field goal against the Bears was another big one for the Vikings. That one was just a funny thing to add. Jordan Addison continues to laugh in the face of Shannon Sharpe. A few weeks ago, Shannon Sharpe was on saying, like, Jordan Addison needs to stop acting like he's a good wide receiver. He's the wide receiver too. Like, yeah, but you're the wide receiver too behind Justin Jefferson. I truly think Addison, in at least half of the teams in this league, could be the wide receiver one. Shannon Sharpe needs to just go like this. He needs to stop talking. I don't like him. And then so many situations where Sam Darnold just needs to let the ball go. I mean, we somehow got out of that 2nd and 17 in overtime, but we were lucky to do that. Sam Darnold has so many situations where, thankfully in this game, he didn't throw interceptions like he did the last, couple games, but he needs to let the ball go because you can't give up a sack on first down like that. You can't give up those kinds of yards when there's an easy way to just let the ball go or throw it off, dump it off. Darnold sometimes tries to do too much, and sometimes it works out for him. He escapes and gets a big first down, but man, there's going to be a situation in the playoffs where he's going to drop back. It'll be a 2nd and 10 in a huge spot, and he's going to give up a 10-yard sack, and it's going to just absolutely tank us against a good defense. So we need to stop that as well. JJ wasn't much to be seen in this game until you read between the lines because he drew a bunch of pass interference calls against him, and 2 big catches by Addison were in part, I'm not going to say that it was all Jefferson, but, Addison's an amazing wide receiver, but Jefferson was double covered. You saw the one with Addison running and getting that first down on like 3rd and 3 right around the goal line where the guy that was kind of keeping an eye on both of them just completely went with Jefferson, and then Addison had an easy catch. He's still seen on the field, and you still see why he's the best wide receiver in the league. Even when he has off games, he just commands the attention of the entire defense. And, he didn't get a lot of catches, but he came up clutch in overtime, and he still continued to show why he's so amazing. We went shotgun on a 4th and 1. I don't have much to say about that other than just like, don't do that next time. And then finally, Blake Brandel almost blew the game for us with a holding call where there was someone blocking that guy, and Brandel didn't even need to be blocking him. He should have just kind of watched the blind side, but instead he just ran forward and grabbed him and got the holding call against him. I just don't understand that, but those are all my notes. The Vikings somehow stick this one out. We need to play better if we're going to play better against some good teams and if we're going to do anything in the playoffs. But we're still 9-2. The Lions did win today, but we're continuing to keep pace with them. There is still an inkling of a chance that we can get ahead of them in the NFC North. We'll see what happens, though, but please let me know in the comments what you think about this game. Vikings win 30-27 in overtime in a game that should not have been close. But we now head to play the Cardinals on Thanksgiving, or not on Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving weekend on that Sunday, and that should be a pretty interesting game. We'll find out a lot about our defense and offense in that game. But again, let me know what you think. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the flip side.